Hi everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Just Good Games. So, with most of us being stuck inside for the foreseeable future, we are going to need to find something to fill the hours with. And this means there's probably no better time to get stuck into a nice, long video game. I'm talking games which are 50, 80 and even 100 hours plus long. Games which you can just get stuck into and get lost in. Games which the worlds are so immersive that you feel like you've lived in them for years and know them like the back of your hand. And unfortunately, when you finish them, leave a big gaping hole in your life. So let's take a look at 5 long games to get absolutely lost in. But before that, I want you to do one thing, and that is hit that subscribe button. We start with the most recently released game on this list, and that is Persona 5 Royale. This is the game that people are calling the definitive version of one of my absolute favourite games of all time in Persona 5. The original version of Persona 5 came out back in 2017 and was met with universal acclaim. It was the Persona game that finally broke through in the West. Its cast of wonderful characters, somehow simple but also deep JRPG turn-based combat, an absolutely crazy but amazing story really hit home with audiences. I plunged at least 80 hours into the original game. So now we've established how good the original is. So I hear you asking, why would someone who spends so much time playing the original want to do it all again? And what does the Royale edition offer that the original doesn't? Firstly, Persona 5 Royale offers a new character and party member in the form of Kasumi. A whole new school semester has been added, and that includes a new palace to take on. The Phantom Thieves now have powerful Showtime attacks, basically tag team super moves, and they are unlocked one by one as the story progresses. A whole new location called Kijahogi, I think I pronounced that right, is yours to explore, and it's bigger than any of the other real world locations in the game. That is massive, and of course there's just loads more personas, items and more ways to increase your social links. I love this game the first time around, and if I wasn't about to start the epic journey that is Final Fantasy VII the remake, then I would be tempted to pick this up and jump right back in. Atlus is fast becoming one of my favourite developers, and this is where that love affair started. They are just amazing at creating unique stories and characters which you fall in love with. If you played this before, you know exactly what I mean, and if you haven't, definitely pick this up. If you haven't played The Witcher 3, then there's no better time to do so than now. It's cheap as chips on the PS4, Switch and Xbox One at this moment, and you've now got the time to put in 100 plus hours into it. If you haven't played the other two, don't worry, as I hadn't, and it was still as engrossing as ever, and Geralt's story is amazing. This game is absolutely huge and is just full of life and things to do. There's side missions which are almost as long as some narratives in full-on games. That's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but only a bit. You'll want to do everything. The combat is just simple on the surface but is so deep and rewarding. And then there's Gwent, the absolutely addictive card game which has a whole new other game now just made about it. Gwent is awesome. Geralt is now a gaming icon, and this is the game that made him. The designs on all the creatures and monsters are absolutely fantastic, and it is just up to you to hunt them down and kill them all. I will also be doing a video on this game in my games that have defined this generation series to expand on why I think this game is one of the greatest of all time. All this is even before I start talking about the DLC, which offers up 2 pretty much full game style expansions, one with a whole new map which is bigger than most maps in most other games. This game is truly huge and is worth plunging all those hours into. And if you haven't done that already, if you haven't started Geralt's story, get out now, download it, buy it, you won't regret it. I am currently playing through the first Neo, and I must say I'm really enjoying it. It is definitely one of the better Dark Souls style games and does enough to differentiate itself from its inspiration. But I'm not talking about Neo 1 now, I am talking about Neo 2, which from what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've read, it just improves upon its predecessor in every single way. As I said, these games draw from the Dark Souls handbook, Dark Souls one-on-one of gaming, but there's just a lot more customization to the way you play, the way you customize your character. There's many styles of combat, new weapons and new stances to try out. Next, the bosses. And that is why we buy games like this. This is why you buy Souls games which are like the Souls games, because the bosses are what brings you to the game. The bosses are just bigger and better than the first game. The design choices are just so inspired, and I cannot wait to take them all on. Plus, unlike the Souls games, there's more of a story to Neo, and it will be interesting to see how that continues. There's also a load of side missions, which again are not really things in Souls games, so this is why it differentiates itself, and there's a cool loot system. Neo games focus a lot more on how good your gear is as opposed to just how high your level is. I don't think it's as difficult as some of the Souls games, but it's definitely of a higher level of difficulty. And to be honest, I don't see any other games coming from Software soon, unless you want to download Dark Souls Remastered, which you could do. So if you want your Souls fix, your Souls style fix, then I think you should definitely buy Neo 2. I know these games are not everyone's cup of tea, but since we have the time, there's no better time to get good and dive into the fantastic world of Neo 2. Dreams is not just a game. Dreams is a game creation tool, and a bloody good one at that. It is the latest offering from Little Big Planet's creators, Media Molecule. I'm a massive fan of Little Big Planet and was absolutely delighted to find out that Dreams takes it to the next level. There's a lot to unpack with the creation tools, but once you get it, that's where the fun really begins. You can spend absolutely hours and hours designing and crafting your perfect game creation. It's so fun to do, and when you unleash your creation upon the world and wait for the feedback, that is awesome, unless the feedback is not awesome. But if creation is not your bag, then you can just play countless and countless dreams of which other people have made, their creations, and there's some creative people out there. You can again just spend hours and hours just playing through the other people's dreams. But the cherry on the top of the cake is the dreams that Media Molecule have created themselves, and more specifically Artstream. Artstream is the main sort of story mode of Dreams, and is obviously made using the creation tools of Dreams, as that's just the whole gimmick of the game. Artstream follows Art, a down on his luck double bass player who has just left his band. The way it plays out is absolutely amazing. Going inside his mind and then playing through the different layers of the story is fantastic. This is worth the price of admission alone. You can just get lost in Dreams, and when you've played all that you can play for one day, the next day there's a whole bunch of new dreams to play. Dreams. No Man's Sky was one of the most hyped up, bigged up games of all time, and to say that when it was released it was a disappointment would be a massive understatement. But I don't think there's been a bigger and better comeback since Man United in the 1999 Champions League final. When this game launched, it was nothing like what was hyped up before launch. There wasn't millions and millions of planets to explore, there was no multiplayer, and the ending of the game is possibly on Mass Effect 3 levels of disappointment. But Hello Games have done what many gaming companies, EA, fail to do sometimes, and that is listen to the fans. And slowly over the past couple of years they have released update after update and expansion after expansion, and now this game actually resembles what it should have been at launch, which is sort of a good thing but also sort of a bad thing, as it probably should have been like that at launch. They have also done this and made most of this free to the consumer, so that's good as well. Now this game is the space exploration survival game which you can plunge hours and hours into. There's so many ways to play this game. Do you become the peaceful explorer? Do you raise a bit of hell? Do you take on missions, or do you just enjoy flying around space? The latest update includes Titanfall style mechs, and this is also cheap as chips on the PlayStation at the moment. I'm not sure what its price is on the Xbox, but I can imagine it's roughly the same. There's also a base creation mode now, which was on an update a little while ago, that allows you to have a home planet now and you can farm resources for it. This game really has become what I thought it would be, and with the continued support that Hello Games are putting into this game will be going on for a while longer, and so why not dip into it now and plunge some of those hours which we've got into it. So thank you for making it to the end of another video. All I need you to do now, if you haven't already, is hit that subscribe button, hit like, share, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and once again, you have been watching Just Good Games.